A private landfill has been on fire in Alabama for over 2 months, forcing families to flee their homes for safety. I'm Yasmin Khan with the breakdown, and the governor of Alabama, Kay Ivey, declared a state of emergency over the fire on January 18th. The fire started the day after Thanksgiving, so why did it take so long for the declaration? The answer is a lot of bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is the enemy of efficiency. It's the enemy of a lot of things, but it epitomizes the ways in which we tend to make things much more complicated than they often need to be. While red tape and miscommunication prevent meaningful action from taking place, people are losing their homes and their health is suffering. The fire is happening at a private landfill in St. Clair County. The landfill is actually a green landfill in that it's supposed to only take in green waste, such as food scraps. However, toxic waste materials have been found in the landfill, like tires. The fact that it's a private landfill has contributed to the delays in addressing the fire, with the state and local governments unsure of who has jurisdiction over a private entity. The county can't spend public money on a private property without the state's authorization, but the state insisted that the green landfill was not subject to state oversight because it technically didn't contain any hazardous waste. The governor finally declared the situation an emergency 2 weeks after the St. Clair County Commission had already made its own declaration. By the time the governor acted, a class action lawsuit had already been filed, residents had already begun fleeing their homes, and the EPA had already found elevated levels of potentially hazardous chemicals in the air. Stan Bateman, chairman of the St. Clair County Commission, told the Washington Post, quote, "This is by far the most helpless feeling I've had to address. I've just felt like I'm not getting anywhere getting this situation under control." Now, the state, which is run by a Republican governor, is counting on the Environmental Protection Agency to solve the problem and put out the blaze. The EPA is currently estimating that the cost of snuffing it out with dirt would be over $2.8 million. As the EPA comes to the rescue in Alabama, it's a good time to remember the contentious relationship that exists between the EPA and other government entities, including the Republican Party.
The light's no good. I always look orange.
As the EPA pursues its goal of protecting the environment, it tends to snuff out, pun intended, more capitalistic endeavors that would likely harm the environment and people. For instance, Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy has recently stated that in regard to the federal budget, he wants to, quote, "eliminate waste wherever it is." It's understood that the EPA is one of the places where McCarthy plans to make cuts. Earlier this year, Republicans helped to kill a bill that would have regulated toxic forever chemicals. The PFAS compounds have been linked to serious health problems such as cancer, liver and kidney disease, as well as fetal complications. And the EPA found that no level of exposure to 2 types of these chemicals is safe in drinking water. Still, the chemical industry brings in billions of dollars in revenue, so Republican lawmakers have succumbed to the industry's lobbying efforts. The gas stove debacle that currently has Republicans up in arms, while the EPA had actually warned against gas stoves in homes since way back in the 1980s, but the agency's warnings were no match for the formidable oil and gas industry and its allies in the Republican Party. Not then and not now. Of course, the agency suffered significant setbacks under the Trump administration, which has made life in the EPA under the Biden administration all the more difficult. Between 2016 and 2018, the EPA lost over $800 million, which was a 9.2% reduction in its budget. Furthermore, the agency lost over 1,200 scientists and policy experts during the Trump years, a brain drain that the agency is struggling to recover from, even with Biden's 2021 infrastructure and climate bill awarding the agency $90 billion over the next 10 years. While the fire in Alabama will be put out soon, the carcinogens it's likely pumped into the air have already made it into people's lungs. People's homes have already been rendered unlivable and unsellable. The air, the water, and the soil have already been compromised. And this is the world we're apparently meant to live in. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like and subscribe, and be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you.